Right. So I think everybody can hear us, and we'll begin our conversation with Chahat. So I'll be requesting her to come live, and then we'll begin the conversation.
Hi everyone.
Hello, Chahat. So first of all, very, very congratulations to you on your success in CLAT 2023 examination.
Thank you so much, sir.
And how has been the experience now? How are you feeling now that the journey of preparing for the exam is over?
I think it has been a very fulfilling 2 years. Honestly, I didn't really think of what the outcome was going to be, and I was really pleasantly surprised with the results. And I've been very happy since then, and it's just been very nice and wholesome.
All right. So definitely it feels like very enriching also that we have learned so much, and eventually you have now achieved one of the target. Obviously now clearing law school is a different ball game altogether. But overall, when you look back at your 2 years journey, what is the most how do you find yourself very different from the person who had started and now someone who has now reached where somebody else is now looking up, okay, all right, this is where I want to be.
Mhm. I think the defining factor would definitely be the fact that I've just become more hardworking in general. And I've had that work ethic instilled in me. So, like, I now can sit and study at a stretch. But I think apart from that, I've also learned how to deal with failure better because once you're getting extremely low mock scores after like studying for so hard, it becomes pretty difficult for you to cope up with it, especially like 2, 3 months before the exam. So I just think this journey has really taught me how to deal with all of that better, but also just be more hardworking and sincere when it comes to things I wish for.
Right. So, Chet, one thing that you pointed out that now you can sit for long hours. For somebody who is starting to prepare for CLAT examination, what is the bare minimum of hours that you sat on a particular day, and what's the maximum did you achieve?
Um, I think there's no specific limit. Like I've never really counted the hours I've studied, but I feel like I was so during my school exams when I was prioritizing schoolwork, like school midterms over the CLAT. I think I did study for like 2, 3 hours that day for CLAT, so it generally was just GK. But I think just studying at least for 2 hours every single day, even if you're not able to put like 7, 8 hours every day, I think that is fine as long as you're consistent about it. So at the end, it's not about just how much you study, but how consistently and how regularly you study that will get you places.
So, Chet, one thing I want to inquire is, when did you start thinking about CLAT on a serious note? Like, when did you aspire, ki, all right, this is the exam I want to give. This is when I started out my journey, and this is how I've achieved.
So right after 10th grade, when I was supposed to choose my streams, that's probably when I started thinking about law seriously as a career option. So I generally was confused between science and humanities. And I realized I generally preferred social sciences more and was more intrigued by law as a career option. So I started prepare. I knew that I was going to write CLAT in 11th, and I started preparing for it from 11th as well. But it got pretty serious this year, only around like 5, 6 months before the exam. I think that's when I was studying for like 7, 8 hours every day. In 11th, I used to just attend classes and spend like 1 to 2 hours every day. That was all.
All right. Did anyone particularly, so you stated you had an inclination toward humanity. Do you think that it gave you an edge when it came to CLAT as an examination, or you feel in general just being consistent was good enough? Like no particular stream matters, because a lot of students care about for students who are picking up a stream, they're like, should I pick a particular stream just to for success in the examination?
I mean, I feel like CLAT is generally an exam that anyone can write and anyone can be good at as long as that's something they want to do. But I do feel that in case you take humanities or streams like commerce, it just gives you more time to put in work towards CLAT because the subjects that we study in humanities are kind of the subjects that the CLAT paper is also aligned towards. Like you get those passages and you have a habit of reading. And at the same time, I also feel like taking streams like humanities and commerce make sure that you don't have subjects that are very practice intensive. So it's going to be all right if you spend less time on school and therefore focus more on CLAT. So I think that way it'll be easier for you to balance it. But I think anyone at the end of the day can write CLAT and be good at it.
Right. So For our viewers, I think it is very, very important to point this out once again, what Chair spoke. That see, it at the end of the day comes or bottoms out to where you can maximize the time that you have at your hand and how you'll be able to prioritize your CLAT preparation above everything else. So, Chahat, one thing that I want to ask is how much did like school preparation bother you during your CLAT? Because a lot of students face issues with time management. So how did you deal with it? Because you'll still be giving your boards exam, right? Be in coming 3 months. So how did you deal with time management right now?
So I think if you're pretty regular at attending your classes, you won't have much of a difficulty for studying before exams. I think it's just about prioritizing well. So I paid pretty. So I had my midterm exams scheduled in October, and that's when CLAT took a back seat. I didn't do a lot of CLAT work during that time, but as soon as they got over, I talked to my teachers about it, and they were also very understanding. And I made sure that I spent a lot more time on CLAT. So and basically just how you prioritize it and just how many hours you spend. It's all right if you're not able to do a lot of work, but just get something done in a day, and I think you'll be okay with schoolwork.
So when you say that you have to get something done on a daily basis, what was that one thing that you never left on a daily basis? Was it reading the newspaper? Was it like the- watching your classes, or was it something you're practicing mock test? What was your
So from 11th, I think it was definitely reading the news. Like I used to spend at least 1 hour reading the newspaper sort of every day. 3 months before the exam, it became writing at least one mock every day and analyzing it really well. Because I think closer to the exam, you already have a good habit of reading. So you already have covered a diverse range of topics. So at that point, you can't really afford to miss out on a mock and miss out on practice, because eventually after you're done with concepts, it's just the practice that matters. So initially it was reading the newspaper and doing GK, and towards the end it became writing mocks.
so Chad, you point with newspaper. Did you pick any particular newspaper?
Right. So I used to read the Hindu almost every day. I used to also refer other newspapers like the Indian Express, Times of India, and just used to skim through the editorial column and see if there was anything that was particularly unique or anything that interested me. And I just went over that.
Uh, did you inculcate this habit primarily for CLAT, or you had a habit of reading the newspaper pehle se and then you just switched over to
I
the
mean,
Hindu?
I definitely did have a habit of reading the news. Like I used to just use my phone and used to just scroll through news channels on Instagram and just see what was happening around the world. But I definitely didn't open the newspaper and read like proper news. That probably started only because of flat, and I think it's definitely a very good habit.
Right. So this is one thing that you believe is gonna continue, or you feel that law school is gonna be too much to continue.
I think even if it doesn't really continue, I'd still be listening to podcasts online. So I think it's like I think I'll figure it out.
Right. Because once law school classes happen, a lot of students, like myself also, when we were in law school, this habit just went away because you would then find time to read the newspaper a little later in the day. Because otherwise, as CLAT student, you're reading in the morning. So did you pick it up as like, okay, I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna read the newspaper and then go to school, or then I'm gonna come back and then you read the newspaper at the end of the day? How did you come to that habit?
So it definitely wasn't a fixed time. Sometimes I just used to pick it up and take it to school with me. And when we'd have our free periods or when I'd have a period that I wasn't really doing anything in, I'd just go to the library and read the news. In case that wasn't possible, I used to come back, have lunch and rest, and then read the newspaper and then start the rest of my CLAT work. So it definitely began with reading the newspaper and then just progressing to other tasks that I had planned.
So, Chet, CLAT is definitely a very English intensive examination where you need to have a good command over the language, good reading habit also. Did you inculcate reading speed, or you believe you had sufficient amount of English reading habit already?
I feel like I think I did have a pretty decent reading speed when I started practicing for CLAT, but it wasn't really up to the mark. Like, I probably would have done better if I was reading at a faster pace. But I think that's an issue that most people can probably overcome. Like, you just need 3 to 4 months of practice of just reading sort of every day, and you're able to reach at a speed where you can even read pretty long passages in a relatively short time and still be able to understand them. So I think I started out at a decent pace, but I definitely improved over the 2 years.
So, when you say that you started out at decent pace, a lot of students face ki sir or ma'am, this is how my first mock has gone. So, what was your first mock experience, and how many questions did you attempt? Were you very happy, or were you like, nahi hoga ye, this is too much for me, kind of?
So I wrote my first mock last year in December. I think a day or two before Christmas, and it was pretty shocking. Like, I wasn't able to read the entire paper. I think I left out 3 4 passages in logic because I attempted that section last. And I also wasn't really able to figure out which section to start with. I think it was a bit overwhelming at first. I remember I scored like a 55 on that mock. And yeah, so, but then all of, like, everyone around me was also scoring around the same range, so it wasn't really an issue. And we sort of consoled each other that it's fine, we still have a lot of time and we'll definitely get better. So I think first mocks are pretty nice in that they tell you what the exam is going to be, but they can be shockers, and it's pretty good because it motivates you to do better.
So, when you talk about consoling and motivating yourself, how did you consistently do that? Because obviously, throughout 1 year, it's a very long time period of preparation. There will be lows, there will be highs. So, how did you keep yourself engaged with that? Was there any some key mantra that you follow?
Mhm. I feel like it was definitely my friends who were always there. Like, all of us were preparing for CLAT together. And so all of us would have these experiences at some point, but they'd always be there and they'd always like send me videos of dogs just to cheer me up. Apart from that, there are also a couple of street dogs that live in like my colony. And so whenever I was sad, I just used to go and play with them and they used to cheer me up. But I think just listening to music, talking to your parents also really helps. So at the end of the day, it's just watching an episode or just like doing something you really love and sort of forgetting about CLAT for a moment, distracting yourself, and then getting back to it while you feel okay.
So, Chet, let's come a little specific to the subjects of the preparation. So, which was the subject that you felt you were really weak at, and how did you overcome that step?
Definitely GK. Like, I started out pretty bad at it. I wasn't able to score even 15 marks in like one of the easiest mocks I wrote. And so GK was definitely tough. But the thing with GK is the more you read and the more you come to know of things, the better you get at it. So it's definitely about time. If you start preparing for GK in pretty advance, you definitely will get better at it and you'll get over that fear. But I think it's also about telling yourself, if you face a difficult mock, that if you're not able to do it, there's a very high chance that other people also will not be able to do it, and that this is just a very difficult question. So just knowing the proper balance and just knowing that this is something that a lot of people will not know will really help you with the mocks and will really help you with the exam as well.
So, how, when you came across the CLAT 2023 paper and the GK section in that, that obviously wasn't one of the easiest GK sections at all. So, how did you cope with that, and what was your strategy when you were at the paper?
The GK was definitely very difficult during the exam. So the first thing I did when I got the paper was that I skimmed through the entire paper. And luckily, the only passage in GK that I saw was the passage on presidential elections. So when I was attempting the English section, I was pretty happy because I thought the GK will be relatively easier this year and I'd be able to attempt it. But then when I opened up GK, I didn't really know anything except the FIFA passage and the passage on presidential elections. And so I spent like 5-ish minutes just figuring out what the section was all about. And I got really flustered at a point. Uh, but then I think I just remembered that I shouldn't mess up my entire exam because of one section. And so I just left GK and I moved on to legal. And after completing maths, I still had around 3 4 minutes left. So I came back to GK and tried to attempt as much as I probably could. I still scored very low in GK, but I think the other sections compensated for it. So yeah, like at the end of the day, it's just about how well you do in all the sections. So even if you mess up one really bad, you can still score pretty good in the exam.
So, I think this one is very, very important for a lot of viewers that see here is someone who has succeeded in the examination, completed the paper, realized that she was not going to do well in one section, but yet managed to console herself and do well. Because I came across some students who started crying in once they saw the GK section because they had put in high expectations in the GK section and they're like, "Sir, ये तो बहुत ज़्यादा नया आ गया, we were not able." Definitely, that is something very, very inspiring for a lot of viewers. I think they'll take much heart from this, that you can mess up with one section and still do well in the examination. So, Chahat, when we come to critical reasoning and English and legal, in this paper, they were more or less the same on the same lines, like they were not very distinctive. So, in when you are giving the examination, mentally, how do you differentiate? Ki, all right, I'm under different section, or should I bring in a different mindset? Yeah, the same thing will apply, the same rules apply, and then go ahead.
I think this time it definitely was kind of the same rules because so when I shifted my sections, I didn't really think that I was shifting to a new section. I basically took one question at a time and tried to attempt it as it was. I think legal as well this time was more oriented towards not towards the concepts but towards like reading comprehensions in general. And I feel like just having the mindset that regardless of whatever the question is, you're going to try your best and attempt it. I think that's the only thing that's important. It doesn't really matter which section you're attempting first or which section you think you're attempting. Just take one question at a time and move on to the next if you can't figure that one out.
Right. So, Chet, when we come to preparation sources, what were the ones that you followed apart from the newspaper? How did you proceed? Did you have a specific timetable? Anything that you want to tell students on your road to success?
Mhm. So I think apart from newspapers, just reading GK from daily compendiums or things like websites like GK Today might probably help. But then again, so all of the GK that I was able to attempt in the exam was not just because of newspapers, it was also about because of the random YouTube videos that I'd watched or just the random knowledge that I had. And I think they're making the paper more diverse and it's not very technical. So you don't need to get into the exact statistics or the exact facts, but you just need to have a general idea about the things that are happening. So I think just referring to a vast variety of sources would probably help for GK. For logic, I used to attempt GMAT questions on GMAT Club Forum. And I think just, and the fact that they allow you to specifically pinpoint the kinds of questions also probably helps. And referring to videos on YouTube about concepts would also probably help. So those were largely the sources that I used.
Um, in regards to quantitative techniques, right? QT section, did you have like a lot of prior knowledge? Were you really good at maths? Or were you like, all right, this is a section I need to learn from scratch, just like Legal and GK, and that is how you proceeded?
So I think for maths, I was pretty good at maths in 10th grade, till 10th grade, I'd say. And so my mom really helped me with maths because she's a maths teacher. So I think the thing that I started out with in 11th was that I went over all those basic concepts once and I prepared like a formula sheet of the formulas that were pretty important. And I think after you're done with those concepts, which shouldn't take you more than like 10-15 days if you're doing all of it at once, it's just about practice. So this year, I think after doing those concepts, I went over all of the mocks that I'd written previously and I started attempting those quantitative technique solutions. And I think it allowed me to it allowed me to go through a vast variety of questions. So with maths, just don't be scared of maths. It's generally a pretty easy section and just practice a lot. So even if you're doing 10-15 questions every day for like 3-4 months, it should be enough to get you a 7-8 score in maths.
Right. Chad, one thing a lot of students also ask is, how did you generally improve your reading speed? Like, obviously, you read through the newspapers, and did you also spend time reading casual reading? Because a lot of students like do that. Did you read any specific novels, or you just went through other websites, or was just reading anything for that matter helped you with reading?
Mhm. I think reading anything generally helps. So I did read a couple of novels this year apart from just the regular CLAT stuff. And I think it's pretty good because that way, you're not technically studying, but you are studying. So you're not feeling guilty about just spending time doing stuff you love. So, in case you're exhausted or you feel burnt out, just pick up a book and start reading. Eventually, it'll help you with your CLAT prep as well, and it'll cheer you up as well. So, I think for reading speed, just reading as much as you probably can. In case you're not interested in reading, I think then just taking baby steps would probably help. Just like designate 30 minutes every day and just read. And I think that will be pretty useful.
Right. A lot about your CLAT and everything. What's the best thing that you're looking forward to at law school?
I think it's definitely going to be the clubs. I do enjoy debating a lot, so I think that's probably something I'll sign up for. And I'm just very excited about the extracurriculars apart from the classes and just the experience, plus the campus dogs as well.
Right. You must know that last year only a endless grad was the judge at World Debating Championship. So it was like the first time an Indian had was part of the panel of final judges at World Debating Championships. So all the best. I hope that you're one of them participating from Endless team there. Though Endless doesn't have that much of a success story at WDC, I hope you help them achieve that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Anything more apart from that you want to share in general, just like your experience of preparing? Like you obviously stated it was enriching. You have like reached an arc, as you can say. So what would you reflect or what you want to tell others about it?
I think it's been a very, very fun journey. Like during the entire process, you'll get closer to your friends. You'll probably also even start to enjoy studying. And you'll miss studying for CLAT once it's done. Like you'll miss writing mocks every day and you'll miss just the entire process. So I just say trust your preparation and trust your entire journey and just be consistent because even if you don't make it at the end, the fact that you know that you've studied a lot and you've put in your best would be very fulfilling. Like you won't regret the fact that you didn't put in enough time. And I think that in and of itself is something that's just going to teach you a lot for future and is going to help you with everything that you do in life.
So, Chad, now you'll be giving boards. So, are you feeling that you are a little less focused for them, or you feel like now you know that I am capable of doing good hard work, so I'll obviously be doing well in them also?
I definitely am scared for boards. I picked up my school books in the last 1 month. So I don't really know how it's going to go. But we still have some time. So I think I'll spend a lot of time studying for boards now. But I hope it's okay.
Right. So, on that note, we'll take a couple of questions as that we have from live chat. So, was there any specific YouTuber that you were following during your preparation time as CLAT?
I mean, not specifically. I just search a topic and I'd go through a couple of videos on YouTube. And I just like the ones that I really liked and I just move forward. So I don't think I had anything in specific. I just referred to like a variety of sources as I could.
And we do have this one question once again about your 11th class preparations. So, you started your prep from 11th, as you have already told, but you weren't very, very serious with it. You got very serious post that only.
That is correct.
Okay. So with that, I think we'll let you go do your board studies and do your New Year preparations. I think you should enjoy your New Year and then only get into your boards prep. So all the very best. Your semester, I think, will begin in June early, begins mid June. So all the very best. The Bangalore weather is going to be pleasant to seeing you there. So thank you so much, Ed, for taking out time to speak to us at Unacademy. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Right. So with this, we will be ending the chat on this note. I hope that this interview was very, very enriching for all of you. See, key takeaways from Chehet's conversation was obviously that despite not doing really well in the GK section, she was still able to pull up her score all the way up to clear the examination to AIR 29. So it shows that, see, if the paper is difficult, if the standard is high, even if low scored, good enough, being good enough in other sections is going to be totally fine. So with this, I'll be sharing a screenshot with certain information for all of you and telling you certain things that we have at Unacademy lined up for all our viewers right now. So see, in our conversation, now that we are closing off, for other students who have not succeeded, जिन्होंने CLAT clear नहीं किया है, उनके लिए we at Unacademy are starting a new dropper series which will be beginning today at 9 p.m. and I'll be taking the session on legal reasoning section. This will be part of our free special class series that will go on throughout the week. So I hope to see all of you there. अगर आप Unacademy पर पहली बार हैं तो आपको लर्नर्स ऐप डाउनलोड करने की ज़रूरत है और आप कोड यूज़ कर सकते हैं KUSHGK। इस कोड के साथ आप अपनी इस क्लास को फ्री में देख सकते हैं। उसी के साथ अगर आप अपनी प्रिपरेशन स्टार्ट करना चाहते हैं तो आप, और या फिर आप रैंकर हैं अनअकैडमी की तरफ से, सो अनअकैडमी रिवॉर्ड्स प्रोग्राम के लिए आप रजिस्टर कर सकते हैं एंड यू आर एलिजिबल टू विन प्राइजेस ऑल द वे अप टू 3 लाख रुपीज़। बट अगर आप उनमें से हैं जिनको प्रेपरेशन करने की ज़रूरत है फॉर योर फ्यूचर एग्जामिनेशंस, देन द बैच फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू इज़ द लॉ एस्टीम बैच। ये बैच दिसंबर 22 से स्टार्ट हुआ है। इसमें पूरा पूरा सिलेबस करवाया जाएगा और अगर आप नए सब्सक्राइबर हैं तो आप बैच पे सब्सक्राइब करने के साथ साथ क्लैट के नोट्स भी हमारे साथ ले सकते हैं। दीज विल बी प्रोवाइडिंग यू विद योर कंपेंडियम जीके मटेरियल प्लस अदर टिप्स एंड स्ट्रैटेजीज फॉर क्लियरिंग द एग्जामिनेशन। इसी के साथ आप अपनी सेक्शनल टेस्ट की प्रिपरेशन अनअकैडमी के क्यूआर कोड को बॉटम लेफ्ट कॉर्नर पर साइन करके कर सकते हैं। एंड जब आप सब्सक्रिप्शन लेंगे तब आपके पास दो ऑप्शन होंगे, प्लस एंड आइकॉनिक। आप आइकॉनिक सब्सक्रिप्शन ले सकते हैं फॉर लाइव मेंटरशिप, डाउट सॉल्विंग एंड प्रायोरिटी इन क्लासेस। तो सब्सक्रिप्शन पर डिस्काउंट के लिए आप कोड यूज़ कर सकते हैं KUSHGK। टॉप सेंटर कॉर्नर में कोड दिया हुआ है, उसके साथ आप 10% डिस्काउंट ले सकते हैं। तो 10th और 12th क्लास के स्टूडेंट्स अपने टाइम पीरियड के हिसाब से अपनी प्रिपरेशन, क्योंकि क्लैट का एग्ज़ाम अगले साल दिसंबर के 2023 में होगा, सो अपनी प्रिपरेशन के हिसाब से आप 12 महीने, या अगर आप 2024 का एग्ज़ाम दे रहे हैं तो 24 महीने का सब्सक्रिप्शन ले सकते हैं। अगर आपको कोई डाउट है तो आप कॉल कर सकते हैं 8585858585 पर। और मेरे से और इन्फॉर्मेशन या मुझसे कनेक्टेड रहने के लिए आप मेरे टेलीग्राम चैनल को ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं, दैट इज़ कुशाग्र गोयल _अनअकैडमी। सो उसी के साथ आप सबसे विदा लेता हूँ इस कॉन्वर्सेशन को यहीं पे समाप्त करते हुए। थैंक यू सो मच एवरीवन, टेक गुड केयर ऑफ ऑल ऑफ यू। और अगर आपको ये कॉन्वर्सेशन अच्छी लगी है तो डू लाइक एंड शेयर दिस वीडियो विद योर फ्रेंड्स हु